Hello. So you're thinking about loaning your friend, family member, or an acquaintance some serious money, a couple $100. Well, don't just do it on a handshake or a verbal commitment. Do something more substantial. Have a promissory note so that you can ensure that you have a better chance of getting that money back that you loaned out. In this video, we're going to talk about filling out a sample and a simple promissory note to help you with your friendship, family members, and acquaintances get the money, that couple $100 back. It's very simple and very easy to do. Hello, my name is Vincent Punt, Vice President of Laws Online, the national database of legal professionals. Now, this video isn't a substitute for legal advice. We always recommend you get local. That means you find an attorney locally, next to you, close to you, that you can use to do something like a promissory note form. But in today's video, we're going to recommend that you follow along and fill out a promissory note. And we're going to show you step by step how to fill one out by going to your local library and asking for the law check legal forms related to promissory notes. Your local library should have a law check form, particularly a promissory note form, that you can use. So go ahead, go to your library and download that law check promissory note. And we can go ahead and go through the process of how to fill this out. While you're downloading that promissory note from your local library, let's take a few minutes to look at the facts. Roughly about 1/3 of Americans are involved in a private transaction of property, particularly loans. In that amount of 1/3 of Americans, $184 billion is loaned out in private transactions every year by Americans. $184 billion. So let's make sure those loans have something substantial to protect them. Not just a handshake, not just the word of mouth, but a document that is called a promissory note. Promise to pay that back. So now that you've downloaded that form from your local library, and it's the law check promissory note form, let's go ahead and fill one out. We're going to start out with what we call the short form, a promissory note that should be paid back within about a year. Long form promissory note is one that may be over a year. In most promissory notes, the short form or the quick promissory note we're looking at is going to be one that's unsecured. That means that we're not asking for collateral in exchange for the loan of money. But a promissory note, even a quick one like this, a short one, will provide you some protection in courts. So you can actually take the document into court to enforce or to receive that money. Even if it's unsecured, you have a documentation, and it makes it much easier for the court to process this promissory note. It's very difficult for a court just to go on word of mouth or a handshake. The courts like to have some type of documentation, and this promissory note will provide you that. We're going to put in at the very top the month, date, and year of the loan that's taking place. Next to that, we're going to see the issue number. If you're in the habit of loaning money out to family members, friends, or acquaintances periodically throughout the year, and it's more than once, then you might want to start out with loaning. This is the first one. Then there's a second loan. Then there's a third loan. So that's what the issue number is. Next, we're going to put in the debtor, who the person is that's borrowing from you. In this case, it's John Doe. He's borrowing from me. And he's at the address 4211 Glass Road, Northeast. Then we're going to put in the city, state, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 52402. Now, who's the creditor? Mr. Blank. Mr. Blank is the creditor. And he's at 330 First Street, Southeast, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, 52403. Now, you just put in the address there for who the creditor. Now, the interest rate per year, per annum. Promissory notes, particularly when you start getting into secured promissory notes that involve UCC filing, you want to check with your state rules and guidelines. Again, you can go to your library and ask for the law check article related to promissory notes, and it has a list of all the states that you can click on the link and get into your specific state and what the regulations are for interest rates. We're using 5%, which for most states throughout the United States is relatively commonplace. Next, we're going to have the undersigned. John Doe, in this case, is the debtor, and he agrees to pay, this is what the money is, $450. $450, and he's going to pay that to Mr. Blank, creditor, second party, plus the interest. So this section is where we're putting in the amount of money, who's borrowing it, and who's going to receive it after it's been paid back, or when it's being paid back. We're going to put the date in here, the 5th day of September 2024. You'd put the date that this loan is taking place. And then we're going to have the rate of 5% per annum per year. And it's in consideration of a loan for this individual's getting a bike. They're trying to get a new 10-speed. Okay, so John Doe's trying to get a new 10-speed. So the repayment shall be on a schedule. The date of this repayment completed should be on September 5th of 2025, a year later. Now, what will be the total due? Well, we're going to do little calculations on the 450, and with our 5% math coming up, it's going to add up to about $472.50 is the total that John Doe is going to owe you, or owe Mr. Blank in this case, after the year comes up. Now that $420 will be owed at 5% per annum, or $450 will be owed at the end with that interest, and that interest comes into about $22.50, somewhere around that neighborhood. So it's going to add up to about $472.50. You can put that into the note there. Finally, the interest due at this time of the payment will be due on the same date. So we're going to put 9/5/2025. The debtor of the party shall be immediately obligated to pay the full amount, all interest, on that date. Next, this is important. You'll want to pick the laws that will be used to enforce this promissory note. Here, the creditor will most likely pick the state that they live in for convenience. So if we look at this line, this promissory note is subject to the laws of the state of, and the creditor will want to place their state in this blank area. Here we're going to place Iowa, because that's where the creditor lives, and it's most convenient for them to use those laws to enforce this particular promissory note. And then what you're going to do is you're going to date the time of this promissory note, the 5th day of September 2024 at the location 331st Street, and that's where the creditor, Mr. Blank, is located. The witness can be either the person, the creditor who's giving the money, or a third party. You can use a third party if that helps, but in this case, we might going to just use the creditor. And then finally, the debtor is going to sign there. There it is, a simple promissory note for that loan of $450 to your friends, family members, or acquaintances, and it just gives you some assurance that it will be paid back. The other type of promissory note that we talked about is a secured promissory note. And the secured promissory note usually involves some type of collateral. So there's also a form you can download from your local library, which is going to be the long form, or promissory note, which is involving collateral, which may be over a year, usually a long form, but we're calling this the secured promissory note. Long form is what you can download. Download that from your local library, and we'll take a look at filling that out next. Now this I'm going to abbreviate because, again, we want you to get local. Contact the local attorney near you to help fill out something like this secured promissory note. Because there's more steps involved, you're dealing with UCC filings in your local state, you're probably going to want the advice of an attorney. And so we recommend use Laws Online and find that attorney who's near you. But this secured promissory note, we're going to quickly go through it. The date of this, you're going to put the month, date, and year at the top. You're going to put the issue number if this is the first or second time that you've given that loan to the person. You can put the debtor's name, like we did before, the creditor's name, which is Mr. Blank. We're going to use the same interest rate at 5%, pretty standard. Purpose of the loan for buying a bicycle 10-speed. And then the maturity date will be a year from now. So instead of it being 09/05/2024, it'll be 09/05/2025, be the maturity date. And then you're going to reflect the time of an event of this initial loan, which is on the 5th day of September 2024, the amount, which is $450, and then you're going to reflect that it's 5%. Then the payment on number 2 here, it's going to include the interest, and so the amount of $472.50 is the 5% at the end of the year. And we broke this one into 2 installments of $236 in the first installment, and then $236 on the second installment. And it's due at the first day of each month, which should be completely paid on December 5th or the 5th day of September in 2025. That's when it should be completed. Now, when we get down into past the interest rate, we're usually going to put 5% in there. And again, states are pretty specific on this, so check with your local counsel on how you want to do the 5%. You don't want to get into usury, so a lot of things over that can be problematic. So make sure you have permission to go to 6, 7% in your state. So check with your local counsel. Again, Laws Online help you get local. Number 4, any security offered in conjunction with this note is identified. And in this is the area you would identify the security, the bike in this particular case, or whatever the property is that's being used as the security. And you would use an attached security agreement, a specific document that would reflect the property that is being used as collateral. You can see a sample of a security agreement if you go to the law check forms at your local library. There'll be a security agreement that you can download and look at, and you can review that with your legal counsel. But that's the security agreement that you would attach to this promissory note. Next, number 5, consumer credit. And this is dealing with the Uniform Commercial Code, or what they call the UCC. And it's important to put the state in where the debtor and the collateral are. In this case, the debtor, John Doe, lives in Iowa, so that's where the UCC filing needs to be done, is where this individual lives and where the actual collateral is. Moving down to number 8, law applicable. Usually this is a choice for the creditor. The creditor can choose which state they want the laws to govern this promissory note to be used. If in some cases, if the debtor is in a different state, you may choose as a creditor to use those laws of that state to follow up with the UCC filing. So you might use the laws of the state where the debtor's at. But in many cases, the creditor is going to want to choose laws favorable to the creditor. Again, you want to check with your local legal counsel to make sure you're getting the right state in there. In this case, both the debtor and the creditor are in the state of Iowa, so we're going to put Iowa for both of those, which makes it really easy when both debtor and creditor are in the same state. Finally, you're going to have both parties sign, the debtor and the creditor sign. Again, this is a secured one, so there's going to be some UCC information on this. When you get into UCC or secure filing, you're going to actually do some filing with your Secretary of State or other state agencies, maybe a Treasury, that has the UCC filing requirements for your state. This video has been presented by Laws Online, and we recommend you going to the library to download and look at the information related to a promissory note. Thank you very much for watching.